Welcome in to Palmetto Sports Daily. I'm Carmine here in the Upstate at Fox, Carolina, and over to my, let's see, which side is this on TV? My left side, Kevin Bilodeau, the sports director over at Live 5 in Charleston, and we have a fun show planned, and just because we're only representing the coast and the Upstate, we will have the entire state covered here on this edition of Palmetto Sports Daily. And we start, though, with some very unfortunate news, if we can pull up this video here, of Zach Foster, one of the players with the highest ceiling, maybe the most potential of anybody on the Clemson men's basketball team, true freshman, and also the brother of Marcus Foster, who was a former standout here in the Upstate as well at Furman, and then transferred to Xavier and had some success in the NCAA tournament. But Zach Foster averaging almost double-digit points per game, unfortunately tearing his ACL in the win over the Gamecocks in the first half. 6'6", extremely athletic wing player, can shoot the three, can drive and dunk, has had probably the best highlights of anyone on Clemson men's basketball this year. And so many people watching him just know that the future is so bright for this young man because they see how good he is now and the potential of what he could be in the future. So the news just came out that it was official that he tore his ACL. He limped off the court against the Gamecocks. And here's the statement from head coach Brad Brownell, quote, "It's an extremely unfortunate injury for Zach and our team. Zach is a hard worker and valuable member of our backcourt. I know he will be determined in his rehab and has a very bright future ahead of him here in Clemson." Now, they said in the official release there's no timetable yet for Foster's return. But of course, as all sports fans know watching this show, the ACL, a major knee injury. I've torn it myself. It took me about a year to come back. These guys much more athletic with much better athletic care probably than what I had and dedication to the rehab. So probably we'll see him back maybe for the start of next season would be a great goal. But Kevin, difficult to get this news, and the Tigers really trying to figure out of all the different players they have, 10 new players, 6 transfers, 4 freshmen, including Zach Foster, who they were going to play. And really Zach was, putting himself with some distance as maybe even the best player on this Clemson team.
Yeah, first off, Carmine, don't sell yourself short. I'm sure you're just as athletic as Zach Foster was before he tore that knee ligament. So, don't
right.
Just pat yourself on the back a little bit here. But, this is a tough blow for Clemson. That they with the way the ACC schedule is stacked, they need all the help they can get. Zach Foster was a guy who was really chipping in early on, and it was really fun to see him start to develop a little bit more in this rotation and see what he was offering to this Clemson lineup. And you mentioned the timetable. It's tough to go about now because there have been such great innovations with the surgery and how quickly guys can recover now. And, we can see a guy back on the court, like you said, maybe 9 months, so it could be by the start of next season. But even once you get on the court, it takes extra time to get used to the game speed that you were at beforehand. So even if you're back on the court in 9 months, you're still looking at maybe another couple, 2 or 3 months after that before you're kind of going and getting to the level you were at before this knee injury. So this is going to be, I would say, at least a year until we see him back to what he was before this injury, Carmine.
Yeah, Kevin, that's a really good point because the physical recovery is one thing, but the mental recovery is another. And I will say, though, that in his absence, Ace Buckner really stepped up, the son of Little John legend Greg Buckner that we talked about, and had his career-high 19 points in that win over the Gamecocks where Zach Foster exited early. So if you're looking at a silver lining, it does open up a spot in a very convoluted and difficult to figure out Clemson lineup where, of course, you hate to lose a player of Zach Foster's caliber, but it does create a little more clarity as far as the guard rotation and who you can play in those positions. But, Kevin, also closer to your area, some very exciting hoops going on.
Yeah, we had the renewal of the inter-city rivalry last night as the College of Charleston playing host to the Citadel. And, to call this a rivalry, at least over the last decade and a half, probably wouldn't be true because the College of Charleston has dominated this game since 2010. They've won 13 in a row going into last night, and last night they made it 14 in a row against a Citadel team that still hasn't beaten a Division I team this entire season. 3 wins, but all coming against sub-D1 teams. But last night it looked like the Cid was in really good shape. They had a double-digit double-digit lead in the first half. They were hitting their threes, especially that one from the corner. But the College managed to get it to a one-point game at the half. They would come all the way back. They took the lead early on in the second half and kind of not coasted, but they held on from there, ended up going for a 4-point victory. That kind of in itself is a victory for the Sid because that's the smallest margin they've lost by over the course of these last 14 games against the College of Charleston. I'm sure that's not much for Ed Conroy and his team today to lean on, but it is still something for the Sid. After the game, the coaches talked about what happened in this one.
I think we have a veteran backcourt. I thought Jalen was terrific. He was dealing with them changing defenses. We were changing defenses. He was getting the ball to the right guys. I mean, he's the one that's finding Martin down the stretch. He and Connor are a stabilizing force for us.
Came out with great passion and energy and intensity and all the things you want and the right mindset, the right confidence level. Thought we were aggressive, and then I thought. We came out the second half, certainly started that way as well. I thought then there was there's a 4-minute stretch there where I thought we were a little bit undisciplined and ended up putting ourselves where they were in the bonus the rest of the way.
Both teams going to be back in action coming up on Sunday. Now, we actually had action earlier today as Charleston Southern with a morning game taking on North Florida. And education day for Charleston Southern, and almost 800 kids packed into the Buck Dome to watch CSU take on North Florida in this one. And some big moments for the Bucks, up by double digits going into that second half. Not sure if we have the highlights from this one, but CSU putting together some really good stuff.
Whoa.
There you go. All kinds of kids on hand for this one. Big game for Jesse Hoffmeister. You see here going in for 2 of his game-high 29 points on the day. So big afternoon for him. CSU kept going down low and getting more. Watch the big coming off of the pick and roll, the spin move, going in for the slam right here. But here's the play I really want to talk about. Bryson Blaine coming up with the steal and going in for the layup, gets the bucket and the foul. The reason this was important was that was CSU's 67th point of the game. And you can see the kids were loving that. Still don't know what it means, but yeah, I'm getting that from the producers. It was all over the Buck Dome. The kids all excited about that one. CSU going on for a 113-90 victory over North Florida this afternoon. The Bucks 6-0 at home this year so far. So Son Nimley's doing good things at home for the Bucks so far this season, Carmine. And South Carolina, the women's team, back in action tonight as well.
Yeah, that's always exciting, Kevin, especially I noticed that at the Clemson game, even with the college kids, when the guys score 6, 7, and if you're winning, that's a good score.
They got excited when the losing team did it too, so I don't know what it was.
All right, well, we'll try to figure out this crazy sports world and these scores with much more right after this short break.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. And we've got college football action in our state coming up on Friday with the Myrtle Beach Bowl being played between Western Michigan and Kennesaw State, a game I know, Carmine, you've been looking forward to for weeks, so we can't wait for this one. Tegan Brown is over at Conway and has more on this matchup.
The Myrtle Beach Bowl kicks off right here in Conway, Inbrook Stadium on the surf turf tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. It is Kennesaw State going head-to-head with Western Michigan. Both of these teams are conference winners, and both teams are looking for one more win to cap off the year. Now, these teams have completed their final walkthroughs, but they've spent the week up until now getting to do all the fun Myrtle Beach and Conway activities. The Western Michigan Broncos are currently a 3.5-point favorite over the Kennesaw State Owls. For now, in Conway, Tegan Brown, Palmetto Sports Daily.
All right, Carmine, quick impromptu picks. Who are we taking in the Myrtle Beach Bowl?
Oh, it's got to be Western Michigan. I know they, have produced some good pro players, so I would go with them. And my biggest thing, Kevin, is the adjustment to the teal turf for these two teams that probably have never played on anything, even on the cool color spectrum, other than green, I guess. But, that's a big adjustment.
I am picking Kennesaw State in this one because I love to take underdogs and just let things ride. So we're going big with Kennesaw tomorrow.
Yes, okay, so those programs are in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. We have a couple powerhouse programs. No offense to them and Tegan's great coverage of the Myrtle Beach Bowl, but we have Clemson and Penn State,
sorry.
two teams. Two teams. We're playing good cop, bad cop right now. Two teams that should have been much better, though, in Clemson and Penn State. Top 5 rankings coming in. One team's lost their coach. The other team's lost the most games in program history in the past 15 years. But we had a great soundbite from their quarterback, the 3-year starter and the senior, Cade Klubnik, talking about why he's not one of 27 Clemson players who've opted out. Now, 17 of those are because of injuries, 10 for other reasons like future transferring or staying healthy for the NFL draft. But here's why the QB says he had to play in this final game.
I just really want to play, and I've been through a lot this year, and as y'all know, just fighting a lot of injuries and just straining to get to Saturday, given everything I have, whether it's 60% or 70% of what my body has to go play on a Saturday. And, now I've got almost a month to heal up, and I get to go play with, some of my best friends one more time. And I want to go play another game. And there wasn't even a question for me of whether or not I was going to. I think I even said it before the South Carolina game when somebody asked.
And it should be noted that Cade has been practicing. Actually, he didn't throw at all on Monday because he was nursing a thumb injury. Then he threw just yesterday with a wrap on his thumb, a small brace. So he is throwing, he's working back, and plans to play in the Pinstripe Bowl, which now they still have about a week and a half left to prepare for that, and spending the week in New York City celebrating Christmas. He also I liked his honesty outside of that soundbite, saying he wants to improve his draft stock, Kevin, because remember, this is the guy who came into this season as the Heisman Trophy candidate, the preseason ACC Player of the Year, where we were both at the ACC kickoff, and half of the all-conference preseason team was Clemson Tigers, despite there being 17 conference teams. And he also said, he respects his other guys who have decided to sit out because he understands that they have a future to plan for too. So what do you think about what a classic college quarterback playing in his final game there?
No, I was going to say, I 100% believe he is the type of guy that just wants to play football and wants to be a part of this game. But the other part of that coin is also true. He absolutely needs to play in this game to help his draft stock. Because like you said, he was a guy projected to go the top half of the first round of the draft before the season got going. Now you're talking about analysts saying he's going to be a career backup, and you're looking to second, maybe third day of the draft where he's going to be taken. This one game isn't going to change everything for him, but if he goes out and has a good performance against a Penn State team that, despite their struggles this year, still considered to have a pretty good defense, and then he can kind of roll that into work at the Combine and Pro Day at Clemson and show what he can do a little bit more. Maybe he can work his way into that top second round, maybe bottom of the first round pick if everything goes well. But, props to him for playing in this game, but it's something he absolutely needs to do for himself professionally to try and help his stock going forward.
Yep, so good moves on both sides. Good moves for the college part of Cade, finish out strong. Good moves for the future, hopefully if he can play well and improve his draft stock. And also, I really liked his last message in his final preseason press conference, or pre-game press conference of his college career. A message to us, Kevin, in the media. Check this out.
I appreciate you guys so much. Y'all are awesome. I've always had such a joy coming in here. Just thank you guys for always asking me the questions that make me think and grow deeper. And thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys representing Clemson so well and always having my back through everything. I know y'all have to ask the tough questions sometimes, and I always appreciate you guys and how much y'all care and are always for us. So I appreciate it. Love y'all guys.
Appreciate you always being available.
Yeah.
So pretty cool there. And Ross Taylor, the Clemson Sports Information Director for football, just asked Cade if he had any last comments, and he went the direction of thanking the media, which is pretty cool because Kevin, I mean, and South Carolina, not to compare the two schools, but the number of times that you saw Lenora Sellers, the Gamecocks quarterback, appear for media availability was far smaller. Cade Klubnik appeared every single week, except for the one where he was injured ahead of the SMU game, which is understandable because he's just going to get peppered with questions about his injury, and you want to protect your star quarterback trying to deal with all that. But great consistency, not only as a quarterback, and we know he could have played better and all that, but as far as his character and being available and agreeing to do the media availability every week, pretty cool that a guy of that status would, be so available like that.
Yeah, it almost makes me feel bad for all the times that we, and by we I mean you, Carmine, trashed him on this show. So, it's something we had to rethink going forward for all the stuff we said about him. But no, that was a very classy comment for him, and thanks so much for that. We've got more Palmetto Sports Daily coming up right after this. Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. It's time to talk some soccer and two major stories in soccer here in South Carolina today. Starting here in the Low Country with the Charleston Battery, who make one of the biggest moves in USL Championship history this afternoon. They make things official as they make a deal with the Lexington Sporting Club in Kentucky on the permanent transfer of midfielder Aaron Malloy. Now, Malloy's been there for the last couple of seasons, done a lot of good things for the Battery, become one of the team's most popular players, had 5 goals and 10 assists over the course of the last couple seasons. Really key on the corner kicks. He's been a great guy, led to a lot of goals, gotten a lot of assists on those corner kicks. But they make a permanent transfer of him today over to that Lexington Sporting Club, and it's for a 6-figure transfer fee, and it becomes the largest transfer fee in between two USL teams in league history. So that's a big deal for the Battery. They're going to get that 6 figures, and they'll put that towards new players and hopefully developing younger players that they're going to bring up and, down the line try to sell them as well. But big deal for the Battery to bring in that kind of money for one player after just a couple of seasons, Carmine. An Irish midfielder who was a 2-time all-league first-team selection during his couple of seasons with the Battery.
Yeah, I love that activity off the set pieces and the corner kicks, the free kicks. Looks like a lot of talent, worth a lot of cash, and a great sign, like you said, for the USL to be doing 6-figure deals and breaking records. Another USL development right here in the Upstate. If we can roll some of this video, we'll see the new head coach of the Greenville Triumph, and that is Dave Dixon. And he brings 30 years of coaching experience to his first professional head coaching job in soccer right here in the Upstate, taking over after Rick Wright's retirement, the former coach. Most recently, Dave Dixon was an assistant for a team in the same USL League One as the Triumph, which is the Charlotte Independence, but then he declared his independence from them to Triumph himself, earning a head coaching job here in Greenville, planning to use his ability to scout, identify those talented young players to help Greenville get back to its winning ways after the team missed the playoffs for the first time in its history last season. That's coming up on 8 years as a franchise. And here is Dave speaking about what it means to take his first head coaching job for a pro soccer team in a personal triumph.
It's something I've been working for a long time. I've been an assistant coach in the USL for a long time. I feel like I'm ready for this opportunity. I feel like it's a perfect fit from that perspective, almost like we have some really new exciting things and a great time for me to come in with some new ideas that we can add on top of the history and the success that we've had.
And some of those new and exciting things are, in addition to the new head coach, a new general manager, and you just saw the renderings of a new stadium. That is a $30 million stadium at Bridgeway Station in Malden that will open up for games coming up in the next season. So very exciting developments for the Greenville Triumph. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll talk about the other football, the Carolina Panthers. Big game this weekend, right after this. Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily, and we're talking about the Cardiac Cats, the Carolina Panthers. Sometimes they break your heart, and sometimes they make your heart pound with excitement. We don't know what team we're going to get because we've seen this team beat the LA Rams, beat the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. We've also seen a team that's lost to the Saints twice this season. Coming off the loss to the Saints in New Orleans, a game they really should have won, Kevin. But the real exciting storyline is that they're hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their first meeting of 2 in a matter of 3 weeks to really decide the division champ and then, of course, the playoff berth for either of these two teams. And both teams coming in with a 7-7 record. The Buccaneers favored by 1.5 points, but they're struggling themselves after a crazy hot start. The Panthers have just been inconsistent really all year. So which Panthers team, Kevin, do you think we're going to see? The team that's dethroned some of the best in the league or the team that's lost to some of the worst in the league on Sunday?
Well, it seems like from the way things have gone the last month, I expect Bryce Young to come out here and throw for 375 yards and 4 touchdowns and win this game because they've been going back and forth the last month and a half or so, just win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. So they're on track after losing New Orleans last week to bounce back and get a victory. They've probably been the better team over Tampa over the course of the last third of the season or whatever. Because like you said, Tampa started off this season really hot. Baker Mayfield was a candidate for MVP early on in this season. They have totally cooled down. Baker got hurt. I think he's still kind of working his way back from injury. So if I have to guess, I'm going to say that Carolina takes care of business at home. They come away with a win. And, the crazy thing is they win this game and they take control of this division, Carmine. They just need to take care of business a couple more times.
Yeah, they really do. And good thing they can hopefully lean on that defense that has been pretty good overall and see what happens with the offense. But Tetairoa McMillan looking like a great pick in the first round wide receiver. They got the running game going with Rico and Chuba. So, hey, Kevin, your guess is as good as mine. But based on the win-loss, and how they bounced back against the Saints in their first loss, hopefully we're looking at a win and then talking about the Panthers in the driver's seat of their division heading to the playoffs next week. But for now, that's it. For Kevin, I'm Carmine, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.